During World War II and the Cold War, Greater Manchester became home to an awful lot of underground bunkers. Many have gone without trace, some still sit rotting away, and others are still in use for other purposes. One sits on a main road in the town of Stockport, and you've probably passed it many times and never noticed. This is the Stockport PR1 building, PR standing for Protected Repeater. It is located in the grounds of the Telephone Exchange in Stockport and is one of 8 PR1 and PR2 repeaters which were built between 1951 and 1956. The connection between the home phone and the telephone exchange was carried on a single pair of wires. Over short distances, these are grouped together into larger cables, some of which contain 2,000 wires. Over long distances, the use of large cables wasn't practical or cost-effective, so a system of multiplexing 24 analog speech channels into twin pairs of wires was developed. This was the first of many developments to increase the capacity to what it is today. When telephone calls were sent down a pair of wires over longer distances between exchanges, the audio signal needed to be amplified at regular intervals. The point of amplification was known as a TRS, or telephone repeater station. Most large telephone exchange buildings incorporated its own TRS area. However, in small exchanges, a dedicated area wasn't warranted. In these instances, the amplifier racks were placed next to the exchange's switching equipment. On long-distance lines using multiplex equipment, the large equipment required was housed in a dedicated TRS building, rather than using part of the exchange building. Early on, multiplex speech channels needed to be amplified every couple of miles, so hundreds of TRSs were housed in nondescript small brick buildings, and later on in manholes. During the Cold War, these above-ground repeater stations were vulnerable to potential damage, and of course, maintaining the telephone network was extremely important. This meant that there was a requirement to protect important routes with specially built hardened buildings known as PR1 and PR2 buildings. During this time, Birmingham Anchor, London Kingsway and Manchester Guardian exchanges were being built. Therefore, a small number of hardened repeater stations such as this one were constructed to house the repeater equipment. In all, just 8 of these repeater stations were built between 1951 and 1956. 6 were PR1 type and 2 were the larger PR2 type, the size being the only difference. The buildings consisted of a 2-level bunker with heavy blast doors. The bunkers were semi-sunken with the main distribution frames, repeater equipment and ventilation plant on the upper level above ground, and more plant including standby generators and a high voltage substation located in the lower floor below ground. Today this bunker still appears to be in use by British Telecom and is well looked after. Now it's interesting to note that there was another identical bunker which sat on Lawnswood Drive in Swinton in Greater Manchester. However, it was unfortunately demolished without trace around the end of 2002, but this served the exact same purpose as others in the network.